Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live stream. With me today, I have a guest all the way from Canada, Steve Walsh. He's working as an instructor at McCann Dogs.
How are you guys? It's good to see you. Thanks so much for having me today. It's nice to talk to you. Nice to actually see you in person. This is great.
Yeah, we've been talking before on our podcast called Unleash. That's a podcast where we talk to dog trainers, athletes, and different experts around the world about different topics. And we have done a Q&A with you before.
Yeah, it's always fun to chat about dogs, and I love talking about puppies because I get to play with them every day. It's so much fun. Especially other people's puppies. Other people's puppies are always much more fun than your own.
But you have to give us a short introduction before we start about yourself and your dogs. We could hear one now, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say one of them is just here. Apparently the mailman is here upstairs. That apparently happens. And because I'm talking to you, come here. Come here. So yeah, I am Steve, and I'm the program director for a company called McCann Professional Dog Trainers, and we are in Flamborough, Ontario, Canada, just outside of Toronto. And we are a purpose-built dog training facility. That's actually, we're about to celebrate our 40th anniversary, which is pretty darn cool. And I started training my dogs there about 25 years ago. I now teach there and write some programs and develop their programs for everything from baby puppies all the way up to world level agility. We do all sorts of family dog stuff. We do a little bit of competitive obedient stuff, not a ton. That's not really our focus. Our focus is family dogs, but we do have quite a fantastic agility program as well, and that's what I compete in. I compete in agility I've got two border collies. I've got one who's 8. That's the gray one that just hopped up. I have one that's 2, a little black and white smooth boy, and I also have a 6-year-old Irish wolfhound. I've always had sighthounds. I don't know why. I've just always had them. They're not good for much. No, I'm kidding. They're wonderful pets. They're probably some of the best pets ever. But I've always had Irish wolfhounds or whippets, so that's what I have for dogs. And I compete in agility. I've competed regionally, nationally in Canada, and also internationally for Canada at the European Open. That's sort of my little passion that goes along with that. But other than that, it's all about helping people and their dogs. And as I said, I didn't start out to be a dog trainer. I got a dog and I started training them with these people, and I just loved it. It was so much fun, and it became the thing that I did over and over and over and over again. And now it's just turned into a really strange career. I don't know how I got here, but anyway, that's what I do. Actually, right now I counted it up this week because we have with restrictions lifted and us back doing things. I now see almost 200 dogs a week in all of my classes. So wow. I see lots of dogs.
And you might see some more after this live stream, because as far as I know, you have a special offer for everyone following the stream today.
Well, yeah, everything I've talked about so far is just our in-person classes in our facility, but we actually also have an online program that we actually started about 5 years ago, before COVID. And for puppies, we have it. It's called our Puppy Essentials program, McCann Dogs Puppy Essentials. And we actually have students in 48 countries, 48 states in the U.S., 7 provinces and 1 territory in Canada. We've got thousands of students across the world that I also get to see on a weekly basis in Zoom calls and in chats in all of our groups. So we have a coupon code for you if you guys listen to the podcast or listen to this live stream after and want to join us. We would love to have you. It's McCann Dogs Fan, and I'm sure we can put that up on the screen. But I look forward to seeing you. I love the fun thing about seeing puppies from all over the world, because the cool thing is they're still puppies, and all the stuff that we do can still work.
Yeah, who doesn't love puppies? And we also have a gift for our viewers. I will try to share my screen, because among everyone following this stream and everyone that leaves us a question, they can take part. They have the chance to win 2 products. One of them is the Tumble collar. This is a pretty new product in our range. It's for small dogs and puppies. Really nice color.
The color looks good on lots of dogs.
Yeah, we love them so much. And we also have harnesses. This is the Ramble harness. I chose to bring a big one today because it's easier for you guys to see on the screen. But we have these in small sizes as well, and they are adjustable. And that's perfect for puppies that are growing. So if you're leaving a question about puppies in the comments today, you can actually win win a harness and a color. And here you also see the harness in purple. They are really nice.
They are really nice. I
Yeah.
actually quite like them, and I've used a bunch of them, and they're really, really cool. So you should make sure you ask questions anyway, because you got to win something.
And we already got a lot of questions from our followers in our newsletter. So we might as well just start with the first one. The first one is, any tips on how I should introduce my puppy to my family and the other dogs in our household?
Yeah, this is always a question. You know, we talk about what to do. Now, the first thing that we need to keep in mind is what puppies learn first, they learn best. And I will tell you one of the biggest mistakes I see, and it's a completely harmless one, but it's one that can create some situations later, is we bring this super cute puppy home, and I'll talk about the people first. And we put it in the middle of the floor, and it's super cute, and it walks over to somebody and puts its paws up on somebody, and then we all melt because it's the cutest thing ever. And then we pet it and we give it a massage and we do all this kind of stuff. And that puppy in that first second learns, oh, putting paws on people gets the big massage and gets all the lovey talk. So, you know, we want to make sure that we're structuring our puppies' lives to help them make the right choices. And I always think with puppies, what does this look like when they're full grown? And if it still looks okay, what does it look like if they're full grown and covered in mud? Because, you know, if you don't like the thought of those things, you know, some of our dogs, I mean, you guys have some bigger dogs. You guys use a lot of pointers for things. And when they're so small, they're so cute and easy for them to jump up. When they're 60, 70, 80 pounds, it's really not so cute at that point. So one of the first things that I do is really try and teach my family, which is the hard part, to be a little bit more calm around the puppy at first. And, you know, I might give them a little food and have them, you know, just simply lure the puppy into a sit and reward the dog for sitting, you know, change the interaction a little bit to sort of promote the end game. Now, there is always a time to have that snuggle with the puppy. I want to make sure we do. But I would make it a little bit more about giving permission. So it'd be, okay, go say hi. And then somebody could bend down and we could, you know, pick up the pup. And so I really control those things. So it makes it a little bit more about what I want it to look like when the pup's older. And that's a really big one. When it comes to other dogs in the house, I have a multi-dog household I have for a lot of years. And I will tell you one thing that I do is I don't allow a lot of free play between puppy and older dogs. I really... I know I let them sort of hang out and they see each other, but puppies on leash. I wouldn't put a puppy out with an older dog that I was having any behavioral issues about or anything I was worried about. I would make sure, you know, I want to make sure the puppy has a great experience. But then I also really, my focus when it comes to puppies is building my relationship with the dog. My dogs get to hang out with lots of dogs. Okay. They get to see people all the time. But I also know they think I'm the best thing ever, which is what I want. And when you want them to work and when you want them to listen, it's important that you create a little bit of that separation first. So they hang out, but when, you know, I'm doing stuff with the older dogs, puppies, you know, away in a crate for a little bit while we do some stuff with the older dogs, and then vice versa. Older dogs can go in a room or do whatever, and then puppy comes out and we do things. They learn to be around each other, but puppy learns to listen and learns to like me best.
That's a good starting point for later in life. When the and we're training.
And we don't realize, again, what puppies learn first, they learn best. So much like I said about the jumping, if they learn to pull and run to every dog, that's what they're going to think in life, is that's how they're supposed to do things. And we don't want them to necessarily do that.
So we should have a plan, and you should be consistent from the beginning.
Consistency is always the key in everything in dog training.
Easier said than done with puppies.
Yes, I know.
We have another question as well. What should I keep in mind when I'm socializing my puppy? How and when do you recommend to do it? And can it ever be too much?
This is a good question, and it's a really big question. And I don't know if you and I have talked about this before. Socializing and being social are very different things. You know, socializing in our minds is observing without necessarily interacting. You know, seeing things and experiencing, you know, different things in life, automatic doors, buses going by, you know, kids on scooters, you know, all of these things are things that are part of the socialization umbrella. And again, that's very different than letting my puppy have free run and run up to all sorts of other dogs and things like that. So I start socialization the moment the puppy comes home. And that means they're, seeing new things. Now, I'm not letting unvaccinated puppies out in the world and, wander around. I might carry them with me to a spot that I know is pretty good and hang out and just let them see some stuff. Let them see bikes going by. I might take them to my vet's office. I might take them to, some of the home improvement stores around here let you have puppies in there. And I just walk through and let them see things. And that starts the moment they come in. I go as far as putting out different surfaces for the puppies to walk on, and like plastic tarps and wooden surfaces, all that kind of stuff. So that, in my mind, is something that happens right away. And again, that's different than letting them have free play. Now, can it be too much? Well, it would depend on the reaction that you're getting for your puppy. Oftentimes people who struggle with dogs that are maybe a little worried in situations, or maybe don't have quite as much confidence, they think sometimes that overcoming that can be putting the dog in the situation more and more and more. So put them near the road if they're worried about cars, or, if dogs barking, put them off, then put them, near a dog park or something crazy like that. In those situations, it absolutely can be too much and can be very detrimental to the pups. Not only the pup's mentality, but the pup's relationship with you, because they start to think, well, wait a minute, I'm worried. You're not understanding it, and now you're making me more worried. So, it's the kind of thing that you have to be careful of. So if you're seeing confidence and the dog is comfortable with the situation, then I would absolutely continue to do it. As far as a dog that's either worried, or a dog that goes the other way, that goes from worry to reacting, then I would be very much limiting those kind of reactions and introducing them in a very slow and controlled manner. So it definitely can be too much. If this question has more to do with the social part, like sort of being social with other dogs, there absolutely is a window around 8 to 12 weeks that's really important for puppies to learn to play with other dogs. But that, I wouldn't take an 8 to 12-year-old puppy and let it go with a 12-year-old dog or a 7-year-old dog, or like it would be of like aged and grouped puppies. We do that in our classes. So during that time, but even then, I still structure it. I still make it about my permission, and we will have lines of the puppies so that we can separate them if need be. But we will all have the students in class say, okay, tell your dogs to go play, and we walk them out and we let them go play. And then once we sort of, make sure it's all going well, then everybody has a seat, and then we interrupt it afterwards, and we come up and we get everybody gets their own little lines, and then we interrupt the puppies as well. So we also plant the little seed that when you speak, puppies need to listen, and we help them to listen, and we reward them. So it's all very controlled. So yes, socialization is great. Yes, being social is really good. But once we sort of get a little older, I really want it to be, I think personally, it should be all about the people and their dogs.
And that kind of leads us into a question we got in the chat here from Julia. Cool. What's the best way to train a solid recall? My puppy is not so addicted to treats.
So recalls are a fun one. And recalls are one that I do start right away too with my puppies. I mean, on a very baby puppy scale. There are lots of motivators for dogs. Food is one motivator. We all know that. But we also know that not every dog is food motivated. They just aren't. Some dogs just don't care. They're like, yeah, I can eat whatever. So you need to find what sort of motivates your dog best. So that could be a toy. It could be a rope on a string, something that you can control. But also don't forget that you have yourself. People often forget that they are a reward for their dog. So it might be that your dog's best reward is playing with you. Okay. Now we can use that as a foundation, because once you find the motivator, you can help your dog to learn anything. Okay. You can teach them to respond to their name. You can teach them to do all sorts of things when you know how to reward them. And again, every dog is a little bit different on this. And then once you have sort of that little foot in the door, then it allows you to open things up. I will tell you the best way to sort of sabotage your recall training is to give your recall command over and over and over and have the dog learn to ignore it. We set our puppies up to hear the command one time and then respond as best as they can. And our recall command, like our come command, is the emergency one. It means run back to me as fast as you possibly can. So, but you'd be surprised how many people wander around and say the command all the time and just expect the puppy to respond to it. But like anything else, the more you say it, the less the dog has to respond, the less their understanding of what you want will be. So say it a few times, find the motivator. There's going to be something. I've had students use a pencil case full of like hot dogs, cut up with some cheese on a string. Like, we've made all kinds of crazy things to help dogs. So that way we tapped into the chase, the tug, and we threw a little food in. Like, you can come up with all kinds of stuff. So just find that motivator. That'll be the big game changer for you.
Yeah. I know a boxer that was obsessed by balloons of all things. So I guess it's all about trying and to find the right thing.
Yeah, even when it comes to food, this is something like we think outside of the box all the time. I've had people who come in and their dog will only work for Cheerios, like our little breakfast cereal. Like, it doesn't really matter. And every dog it's like us. We all have our own favorite things, and once we sort of figure that out, then that makes things a lot easier. But be creative and try different things.
We got one question about when my dog can start pulling, and that's the question we have answered quite thoroughly in our podcast Unleashed already. So if you want to learn more about like when can my puppy start pulling, when can it start carrying weight, can it walk in stairs and so on, then you can check out that podcast episode, and we also have an article about it.
Actually, I have a question for you. I have a question for you along that lines. Because did we talk about stairs? Did we talk about stairs with puppies?
I don't think so.
See, because I've always had giant breed dogs, and one of the first things I heard when I got a giant breed dog was, don't let it do stairs. Don't ever let it do stairs. And I was like, okay, I won't let it do stairs. And then until my second Irish Wolfhound, the first one I had, I didn't have stairs in my house. It was great. But the second one, he was about a year old, and I was upstairs at the place I was working at the time, and he was downstairs. And I turned around, and all of a sudden he'd somehow gotten upstairs. He'd never done stairs. Well, the problem was he was then upstairs and didn't know how to go downstairs.
I know that, yeah.
And he was 120 pounds.
Then you have a challenge.
So I will say the stair thing, I now actually make a point of very carefully teaching all my puppies how to do stairs. Yeah. They don't get free run on it. But, so a lot of you out there with bigger dogs especially, take some time to teach them how to do the stairs slowly and carefully. It'll help you in life from my experience.
You learned the hard way.
Oh, I absolutely did. I had to carry him down, struggling with this dog down the stairs. Ridiculous.
You should have a picture of it.
No, thank God.
The next question is about puppy biting, actually. My puppy is nipping in our pants and bites our hands all the time. Why does he do that, and how can we make him stop?
Okay, yes, the puppy nipping and biting, the ever age-old question of puppy nipping and biting. Puppies bite for a number of reasons. First of all, that's how they explore the world. They don't have thumbs like we do. They can't pick stuff up. So that's how they explore the world. They do it in play. They do it to tell things like say, get away from me. They do it to show some dominance. There's all sorts of reasons why puppies bite. And every puppy is going to go through all of them. And I will tell you, too, that everybody's puppy bites. So whoever's question this was, you're not alone. Don't feel bad. Okay. But it is something that we want to address. Now, I sort of adopt the rule and encourage my students to adopt the rule that we don't allow teeth on skin. And the reason I say that is because we know puppies can mouth and nip and play and do all sorts of things. However, if they know it's okay to put, or think it's okay to put, let's say, teeth on my skin, because I don't really care, it doesn't really bother me, but my young son or the elderly lady next door, that may be off-putting for those. So I sort of address it as a teeth on skin thing. Now, I also, when it comes to biting, want to be as proactive as I possibly can. And what I mean by that is look at the situations where the nipping and biting is happening the most and say, okay, how can I change this to prevent the behavior from happening? Because again, much like, the recall and saying their name and having them ignore it, I don't want to put my dog into situations where they are, allowed to bite. And what I mean by that is, all my puppies, when they're out of their house, all have a leash or a line on. Okay. And the moment they come out of the crate, in fact, these light little rock leashes are actually super good for that, especially the smaller ones with the smaller clip, because it's really light and the puppies can fall, they can just drag it around. So the moment my puppies come out of their crate, that gets clipped on their collar and they wander around the house, they wander wherever. So that allows me to, if they, go to get into something, I can use my voice first. I can step on that leash or that line. I can just stop them from moving forward, and then I can redirect them to someplace else. That in and of itself oftentimes prevents a lot of nipping, because the dog doesn't get a chance to play the game, where they turn and they move away and you're having to reach for a collar or you're trying to do something else. And then that's when often the nipping and biting happens. And then when we sort of get a little frustrated, puppies are great at picking up on our energy. And we finally get a hold of the dog and we're like, you're not a nice dog. I don't like you right now, even though we're saying all this stuff. And puppy just thinks, oh God, what a great game. I'm going to nip and bite and I'm going to do all sorts of things. So that's the first thing, using that type of tool is a really important thing. I will tell you, when it comes to things like pant legs and stuff, if I have a puppy that's already shown me that they're interested in that stuff, and I will tell you, all of my herding dogs like to chase feet and hit, and pant legs and stuff. But if they're out with me and my puppy, has that leash or line on, I can just have that leash or line in my hand and I can simply just direct them away from my pant leg, and then encourage them to do something else. So, I am telling them not to do this, but then I'm quickly following up with, here's what I want you to do instead. And that might be, here's a bone, go and lie down. It might be, let's do some actual training where I'm going to teach you to sit and lie down and do all sorts of stuff. But having the ability to interrupt things that I don't like quickly and not putting them in situations where they're going to rehearse it, okay, can really, really help. Every puppy has that like 7:30, 8 o'clock at nighttime, where they get a little wide-eyed and they're butt tucked and they really go kind of crazy. Those are things that I would prevent as well, because if I can, again, do a little training and then encourage them to have a nap, that can make the big difference. Every time my puppies, now you guys have some pretty specific laws about crates in some of the countries over there. Over here, we use our crates for management. And what I mean by that is when my puppy is out, we are actually working. I'm showing them what to do. I'm training them. We're having fun. We're doing retrieves. We're tugging. We're learning all the basics. And then I put them in their crate and they're tired and they go to sleep. And then I can go and do all the other things that I need to do.
They can have time out in peace and then...
Yeah, exactly. And it allows me to use that as a bit of a management skill. So the other thing is, when you're not actively training them, I would encourage you to put them in their crate, but make sure they've gotten a really good training session, a fun little bit of physical energy out. Make sure they've gone to the bathroom, all that kind of stuff. Then put them in their crate. When they're out of the crate, we have the ability to control them with their line. And then when you need a break, just pop them in their crate, because how can you miss them if you never leave? Yeah. I will tell you, the other exercise that I find is really a game changer for my dogs. I very much put a ton of value for my dogs being comfortable with me taking hold of their collar. I want my dogs to think me taking a hold of the dog's collar means you chill out and really good things happen. So as a really baby puppy, well, this is literally probably the first thing I teach puppies. I lure them in with some food, take a hold of their collar, and I reward and reward and reward. And as long as they're calm, I just keep those rewards going, and then I let go of their collar. So I condition their response to the collar to be calm, relaxed. So that when I do have a bit of a nipping, bitey puppy, I've already laid the foundation for, hey, when I take a hold of your collar, I just need you to chill out and good things happen. And that in and of itself, creating that association really, really helps, because there are times when I need to go, hey, like, just knock it off, buddy. You're being a little nuts, right? But that previous training and all that stuff, and you can start that at any age with any puppy, that really helps to kind of change the picture.
And we got a question about teaching the puppy to wear different gear, like a collar or a harness, and to walk nice on leash. Do you have some tips on those things as well?
Collars and harnesses, walking nice on leash, we could talk for hours about how to teach a dog to walk nicely on leash. Yeah, having your dog get comfortable with new pieces of equipment it takes a little time and patience, but it also takes a little bit of the removal of our emotion. We sort of instantly feel bad when the puppy doesn't like something, right? And as soon as we do that, pup goes, oh, I know how to get out of stuff. If I just sort of flop around, the people kind of fawn all over me and take the thing off. Okay. Dogs will get over it pretty darn quickly. And now, again, I will qualify that there are some dogs who do have certain A, medical conditions for collars, and B, that can have certain reactions that could create stress reactions. So there are some extreme cases. I can never say everything across the board, but I will tell you the easiest way is just put it on and then do something with your puppy. Put it on. Pull out the toy. Yeah, do something fun. Make it a fun thing. If it's a harness or something like that, put it on at every mealtime and feed them with their meal, then take it off. And then go for, just a quick run around the backyard. Change the association with that particular thing. Whether it's a harness, a flat collar, a gentle leader or head collar, that kind of thing. All of those things can take a little bit of adjustment. So change what they do with it, and just take the emotion out of it if you can. That to me is the big one, because you know, the moment that the puppies learn we feel bad, they start to use that. Let's face it, they're smart creatures.
Letting us.
Yeah, they're trying to control the world all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah. There was I had a little teeny Dachshund puppy in my puppy class the other day, and it was like this big. I gotta get my hands here. Like, it was tiny, and it was like the zestiest puppy you have ever met, and it was like walking up to these labs going, "Get out of my way!" Like, it was just hilarious. So size is never the indicator.
We have another question here from the chat. I can remind you again, if you comment your puppy question in the chat, you can win a Ramble harness and a tumble collar. So it pays off to comment. You get an answer and you might win. Ellen, she's asking, my dogs go crazy when the doorbell rings. How to change this behavior and learn the new puppy not to copy this behavior?
Yeah, that is a tough one. Let's face it, pre-COVID, the doorbell meant something other than the Amazon guy, right? Yeah, you know, puppies figure out pretty quickly, and especially if you've got other dogs in the house that also are doing this behavior, that when the doorbell rings, everybody runs to the door, something fun comes in, they get to jump, they get to do all sorts of things. So, you know, there's a whole series of rewards that are sort of built into that. And, you know, that's a very self-rewarding behavior, to bark. You know, barking feels good for most dogs. You know, the primary reinforcer is just the bark. So they get really, really excited by that, and they like to do it. And then add on to that somebody new coming in who might possibly pet them and the excitement of it. And then the third thing is you guys going to the door and then putting hands on them and taking them away from the door and doing all that kind of thing. Is there's a lot to work against in those situations. And then we also have the little bit of if it's somebody new, you know, are they being a little protective of their house, you know, all those sorts of things. And I will tell you, I don't mind when my dogs bark a couple times when somebody comes to the door, walks by the fence, the Amazon guy there. But when I tell them enough, then they should just go and chill out. So I allow some courtesy barks, because I like that. I like that in my house, that my dogs bark at stuff. An Irish Wolfhound bark is the best burglar alarm ever. It's a really big bark. So how can you change the behavior though? Well, anytime I have something that I don't want them to do, I always try and find what can I train them to do in place that I can reward them for. Okay, because if I can change the association with the stimulus, and in this case it's the doorbell, then my dog can start to understand how to be right. And I'm not in this sort of black hole of trying to correct a behavior. I always want to be a step ahead of my dog if possible. There are times to correct things. Absolutely there are, you know, but until my dog knows what I expect, it's not fair to do it. Okay. I have to put in the time teaching them. So for me in my house, one of the things I do first is I teach, you know, a little more dogs who are able to be outside of their crates a little bit more, a go and lie down. And it's a go and lie down into a spot on a bed, on a mat, on a chair, like wherever you designate to be like the dog spot. That's what I do, because that allows me to give the dog, again, a place to go. I usually put it away from the door, not out in another room, but in the room where the door is. So again, the pups can come and see. Once my dog has that skill, I would get a friend or family member to come and help me set it up, because you can set up the doorbell. You can set up somebody walking in the door. I've had students download a doorbell app on their phone, because sometimes it was the sound that was creating the instant reaction. So they would change the association, and once the dog understands how to lay in the bed, press the doorbell sound, reward the dog in the bed. Press the doorbell sound, reward the dog in the bed. And then they started to move the dog a little bit further away. And this was sort of our plan. We moved the dog a little bit further away from the bed and created doorbell sound meant going on the bed. So it was really cool. And we you know, we've done this with all kinds of stuff. One of my instructors that works for me, one of her border collies got worried about the toaster one day. Okay, so we spent some time doing this kind of thing, but this sort of desensitizing to the sound and the association with the sound itself can really help. So, you know, once dog knows go on the bed, use your little doorbell, then send them to go on the bed. Then have a friend or family member come over and literally ring the doorbell, have the dog go on the bed, then the person comes in. If the dog gets up, person goes back out. So we also can change the reward structure, because the ultimate is the dog learns, doorbell rings, go to the bed, person comes in, person does whatever, and then comes over and pets the dog. Like, that's what I want it to be, because I still want the dog to say hi to everybody. I don't want to sequester the dog. I just want to change the association a little bit. So with some time and consistency, you can do it. But the nice thing about doorbell is it's easy to replicate, and it's easy to sort of train through. Okay, a doorbell app on your phone is a really, really good one.
That sounds good. We got another question here about when we're talking about skills. What are the best foundation skills to teach a puppy?
3 basics. Excuse me. Well, the first one I already mentioned, getting your dog comfortable with holding their collar. That is a game changer, because you're actually teaching them a number of things by doing that. Not only that they should settle, but you're teaching them to accept you, pretty much immobilizing them, right? And once I do that, that's a really, really important thing. And then that skill bleeds into adult life as a dog. Excuse me, sorry. Adult life as a dog is something that I want my dogs comfortable in all sorts of situations. So having hands in their collar, being able to check their ears, check their eyes, have hands all over the puppy, and have them be accepting of it. They don't have to love it. That to me is a big one. Now, I'm a bit probably skewed on that, because I've always had Irish Wolfhounds. So I can't force those dogs to do anything. Like, I can't make it open its mouth so I can see it. They're too big and too strong, you know, much like your pointers, you know, your fit racing dogs. I mean, you can't force these dogs to do anything. But by getting them comfortable with you having hands on them in a more clinical way for trimming paws, you know, checking ears and teeth, that handling and hands-on are a really big one. That's probably my second biggest one. And then the third one, I will tell you that the biggest foundation is making sure I know how to play with my puppy. You know, that's a really, really big one, because again, that comes back to something I can reward them with. And that's about sort of building that relationship with your puppy. You know, people ask me, what do your dogs do the moment you take them off leash? And it's ridiculous, because I say nothing. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, well, I take them off leash and they turn and look at me and go, what are we going to do? Right? Yeah. What should we do? What should we do together? Not see you later, I'm running. So find something that you can do with your puppy that you can engage with them. And then I will give you my next one. The last one will probably be get them comfortable in a crate. Get them comfortable in a crate. Use a crate. Crate. Because it's the best tool ever. It really is.
Yeah. Good answer. Another question from our newsletter subscribers. My puppy is chewing on everything from chews to furniture. She's not very interested in the bones or toys we offer. What to do?
Put a leash on your puppy. Put a leash on your puppy. Put a leash on your puppy. Put a leash on your puppy and supervise your puppy. You know, I have eyes on my puppy all the time they're out of their crate, literally all the time out of their crate. That allows me to direct everything that they do, and that takes away their ability to rehearse doing all kinds of things. And when I can't have eyes directly on them, I put them in their crate. You know, so they're not in for hours and hours and hours at a time, but they're in while I do the things that I need to do, and then they come out, and then they go back in for the things that I need to do. But being able to interrupt and redirect is such a good thing. You know, I talked about the self-rewarding behavior of barking and running at the door. Chewing is another one of those self-rewarding behaviors that, you know, if the dog figures out that the drywall or the baseboards or, you know, the leg of the chair or something like that, not only sort of feels good when they chew it because it sort of disintegrates, but also you may come in and then interact with them somehow. That can again be another rewarder. I don't know, sort of in terms of bone things, what you guys have over there. There are a couple of things that I really, really like. And this is, you know, pretty dog dependent. But again, people get stuck on, I bought this bone and it doesn't work. Well, what can you do with that bone to make it better? You know, like things like these. Hold on. I gathered some things. I always have things around. You know, things like these big nylon bones. You know, take that bone and mash some cheese in there or some peanut butter or something like that. Like make it more appealing. You can take a drill and drill holes in here and put like hot dogs in there. There's lots of stuff that you can do to bones that you already have that may make the dog more interesting or more interested in them. But I also want to make sure you limit your dog's options. So, you know, in my house, some of the bones might be out, but there's no toys out. Okay. There's no toys out for the puppy to chew on their own. I usually only put 1 or 2 bones out, and I also take those away quite often because I want them to know that all of those things are mine. They're not the puppies. And again, this is sort of non-confrontational ways to develop the idea of leadership. So when I give you something like a bone, I want you to be excited about it, and I want you to play with it. And I will do my best to make it exciting for you. I've got again more things here. I love Kongs. Like, these are great. People always told me, "Oh, put dog cookies in them." Well, in 2 seconds, my dogs get dog cookies out of these, and they get bored with them. So here's what I do with Kongs, and this might be something that you find works for this dog. Take some of your dog's food for the day, soak it in warm water, turn it into a really, really wet paste, put some plain yogurt or something in, mix it in with it, stuff it in the Kong, and freeze it. It is like the best dogsicle, and often adding that sort of food element can really, really help. Okay, that can sort of get them more interested in chewing. And I would also like that particular thing. That's my dog's in crate little delicious meal. So we do some work. We know we do our thing. This is what they go in, and then that's what they chew on while they have their little nap. But beyond that, limiting your dog's ability to make other choices. So don't let them wander around and get into the laundry basket, or don't let them wander around and find those big sticks that we don't necessarily want them chewing at this point. So a little bit more monitoring, but then be creative with the bones that you do give them. I personally, this tends to be for older dogs. My dogs love antlers. I do give these to my dogs. I tend to find the pickier dogs do well on these. I tend to find the biggest ones I can. So don't get the little teeny ones. And this goes for all bones. I would buy a size or two bigger than you think, so that the dogs can comfortably hold them between their paws and chew off to the side. These are quite hard though. So I caution you, if you have a very heavy chewer, that might not be the best thing for the dog. Some dogs have cracked teeth on these, and those nylon bones as well. So you need to know your dog specifically, but things like this can work really, really well for getting dogs interested in chewing.
Some good tips. We got another question in the chat from Sophia. How do I calm an overexcited puppy?
Great.
How to calm down?
No, you know what? So a couple of things that come along with that is, why was puppy overexcited? I mean, let's face it, puppies go from super content to super overexcited like that. So it happens really, really quickly. It would depend on the situation and what the pup was overexcited for. If it was simply because somebody was there, because it's somebody new. Again, anytime my pups are having somebody new, leash your line, has to be on. But I have that great super high value reward, whatever it is for my dog. And instead of letting that puppy run up and jump on somebody, I might encourage my dog to sit a little bit further away, build on some success there. And then if I want my puppy to go see them, then I would give that dog permission to go and say hi. The trouble is we put puppies in situations where they really don't have a win, because they're social little butterflies. They want to go see that person. The person who's standing there is talking to them and encouraging them, and it's not making it very easy. So I tend to be very much my dog's advocate and say, yep, hang on, let me just get the puppy to sit for a second. If it's that type of situation, and I might reward the dog a few times and then tell them, okay, go see, and give the puppy permission to go and say hi. So again, making it more about your idea. So that can take the overexcited part out, because usually the overexcitement comes through frustration, because that person is so close and they can't get there, and puppy pulls and barks. So if that's the case, then that's how I would approach that. If it's a matter of they're getting a little excited at home, maybe because they are a little crazy and they're having a little run around, again, having the ability to interrupt what they're doing with a leash or their line simply takes away the rehearsal of it. It allows you to really show great leadership in terms of using your words, using your voice, and then immediately affecting change. And that can be simply stepping on the line, calmly gathering up the line. And then at that point, I would look at, excuse me, okay, do you need to go outside? Do you need to go to the bathroom? And then you probably need a nap. So be outside of the bathroom, do your business, and then in your crate. And then that usually helps. But again, I would look for a puppy like this. I would look for sort of consistent times. I tell all my students to sort of keep little notes on things. When was the puppy's biting worst? When was you're working with this for your house training? Because you can start to see patterns, and then you can start to get ahead of the dog in terms of, okay, I'm going to train a little bit more now before the pup gets overtired or before the pup gets overexcited. And then we'll have a little nap. And then, so you can sort of guide that route to prevent a lot of those overexcited, crazy moments from happening.
And that also leads us to another question from our newsletter subscribers. How do you house train your puppy? She has a puppy that's 5 months old now, and it still pees inside.
Okay. House training is two parts, and people are surprised by that. First part, obviously, is going to the bathroom outside. But the other part of it is don't go to the bathroom inside. So there really is two parts that my dog needs to learn. And, sometimes we miss the second part. Good management is always the first key. And again, being able to control the dog's environment. Again, crates are such a powerful tool, especially when it comes to house training. Because dogs generally will not go to the bathroom where they sleep. That's just dog behavior. Doesn't matter what they are. That's just their natural tendency. So that is step one. Okay. And the more I can do that, the more I can use that, the more I can sort of take away the opportunities to go to the bathroom inside. That's when I'm not supervising them. The moment I can't supervise them, I pop them in their crate. Now, I make sure I take them out. I make sure I have them on leash or line outside so they're not just running and playing. Because the other thing is people tell me, I took my puppy outside to go to the bathroom. I stood there. I was boring. I did nothing. And the pup didn't go. And I was there for like half an hour. And I came back inside. I turned my back and the puppy went to the bathroom. Total common puppy thing. Okay. Puppies have an attention span this long and this far. And yeah, at the moment they needed to go to the bathroom. And then you took them outside and there was an ant or a leaf blew by or like something changed and they got so distracted they totally forgot they had to go to the bathroom. So this is where your crate can really speed up this process because you probably know they have to go to the bathroom at that point. But when they don't, we come in and puppies sneak around a corner. Puppies are famous for sneaking around a corner to go to the bathroom. That's not because they're evil. That's just good dog behavior. When puppies can get out of the whelping box, first thing that mom says is get out of the whelping box before you go pee. That's why they won't pee in their crates. So they're trying to go to a quieter area where there is no pee or where there is nobody. But when you bring them back in, just take them right in and pop them in their crate for maybe 5 minutes. Wait until you see them getting a little bit more active again. And the moment they do that, open the crate, take them on leash, take them outside, let them go to the bathroom. I never feed a puppy for going to the bathroom. I will pet puppies. I will praise them. I will give them lots of love, but I never feed them cookies. Okay. Wow. A lot of times the association can change with the physical act of the squat or the lift of the leg and not necessarily the pee. I've seen a couple of dogs who are what we call dry peers. A little coton de Tuileries that one of my friends had. She yesed and marked and fed every time the dog peed. But then the dog, what happened, she would run out and she would instantly turn and squat. And so it became the squat position that she thought she was getting the treat for, and the dog didn't actually pee. So you can create a little dry pee in that situation. So I do reward, I praise them, and I pet them, but I don't feed for going to the bathroom. It is a naturally rewarding behavior. Like it feels good when you go to the bathroom. So they don't need that particular extra reward.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. When you take them outside and they go to the bathroom, absolutely pet them, absolutely praise them, come back inside. But I would still keep eyes on them. Like, my pups don't have free reign of the house and they can go up and downstairs. Here's the part about not going to the bathroom in the house. I do really like to catch my puppy once or twice starting to think about going. Okay. And then I would do just like a little interrupt. Hey, like a little clap and a little, not to scare them, but enough to just stop it. And it's just a little bit unpleasant. Then I immediately scoop them up, take them outside, let them finish outside, and I praise them. So on one hand, we're making a big deal about them going to the bathroom, but the other hand, I try and catch them only once or twice not doing it. If it's happening over and over, I encourage you to really up your supervision. Having eyes on the puppy is the only thing that's going to change this. If they're allowed to roam free, a lot of the behaviors like, house training is one, nipping and biting, just general, maybe even and I don't know, I want to go on this road, but it falls, a little bit into things like possession issues and different things like that. Oftentimes the root of those is a little bit too much freedom as puppies, because we want our puppies to do all these things. We want them to hang out on the couch and sleep in our bed and do all these stuff. Problem is puppies haven't really earned that right yet. They haven't earned that. They don't know enough. They haven't sort of developed their position in your household. And, I want to do that in a fair and clear manner. My old dogs get to do whatever the heck they want. They come places, they sleep on the bed, they do puppies. No way, man. You got to earn that. So a lot of things like that can be really helped along with using your crate and managing them a little bit more.
Some good tips there. And another reminder for everyone that's asking questions today. You can win one of these harnesses. This is the Ramble harness. It's adjustable, perfect for puppies that are growing. with several attachment points as well. You have one standard in the back, and then you have one in front if your dog is pulling for my mild anti-pull control. And then you also have one under for a tracking line. We also have colors, the tumble color, perfect for puppies, and you can win both if you leave a comment today.
You know what? I will tell you, I've actually changed something based on this stuff. So, like my line harness with my dogs, I love this, by the way. I use one on my youngest puppy, on the smaller ultra harness I have. I use harnesses on my dogs every day, but I tend to teach them on my collar. So I teach them how to walk on my collar, and we never got to walking. We can come back to that. But I will tell you the best thing, because my puppies drag lines inside and they drag long lines outside, having that tracking attachment point underneath is so handy, because they get tangled in it a whole lot less.
Yeah,
but it gives me that direct connection, to my pups, and it's a lot easier. It's a very handy thing, and I never used that before until these.
That's good. We're happy to hear. But then maybe you can say something about walking nice on the leash.
Yeah, well, this is, again, something that really probably takes the most time, is teaching your dog to walk nicely on a loose leash. It really is something that requires a lot of repetition and a lot of consistency. And I also, say to my students that teaching your dog to walk nicely on a loose leash and taking your dog for a walk are two very different things. You need to spend the time teaching them before you can ever expect them to walk nicely on a loose leash. And sometimes in our haste to get our dogs out, going back to that first question about puppies, how do we introduce puppies? And, I said, what puppies learn first, they learn best. And if your puppy learns that they go through the world by pulling, and you allow them to pull, and that's the way they go, then that is what they will do. Okay. And I know you guys have a pretty darn similar thing, because you don't want your pulling dogs pulling you like a freight train through the world. It's not allowed. So all of my dogs absolutely spend a lot of time learning to walk on their collar. And again, I differentiate the pieces of equipment. I want my dogs to know that collars mean you do not pull, and that harnesses mean you're allowed to pull, and you're allowed to do some other things. I break it down into little teeny bits with puppies of this age. And this, today's question is more about puppies than anything else. I literally will just spend time building value for moving up my left-hand side. Okay, so that might mean having some of their dinner, just walking along with food right on their nose, reward, reward, reward. And I break that into little teeny bits. I don't take baby puppies for long walks. It's not good for their brains. It's not good for their joints. It's not good for your relationship, because it's just frustrating as heck. But I will do it, up and down the driveway, or up and down the street, or maybe even just on my hallway. Like, I do it in little teeny bits. So I will do some basic training with baby puppies on doing that. I do little basic training on having puppies sort of learn to come to my left side. So I might toss the kibble away and then have a really high value treat at my left-hand side. So I tell them to get it, let them go get that, and then reward the heck out of them for running back to my left-hand side. So sort of finding heel is a really, really great one. And then the other thing that I do spend a lot of time doing is teaching my dog to sit at my left, because if they know how to sit at my left, and then they know a little bit how to walk at my left, I have at least a break that I can put on to put them in a sit. I use sitting at my side for all kinds of things. Excuse me. I use that for when new people come over. I use it for all kinds of stuff, because again, instead of correcting my dog for jumping or correcting them for barking or other things, if I teach them, hey, here's what I want you to do, that allows me to give them something to reward, which is a whole lot better. So teach them to move at your left-hand side. Play some games where you can find heel with them. That's a really, really fun one. That's a really brain one too. So that to me is a great puppy exercise, because it'll tire them out. It's a very directed game. Toss a piece of kibble away and move so they can only come to your left, and then jackpot reward them when they get to you, and then do that again. And then you could also even integrate some toys into that. So when they find you left, pull out a toy, have a tug and play, really put that focus on coming to that position, and then simply having them sit. And having them sit, I actually will start to do out in the real world as well. So I will go like outside my front door, and then now we're getting some socialization. Now we're getting some skill training, and now we're getting some other things where my dog is learning what to do. And all of that kind of really helps bigger picture when the dogs are a little bit older.
Good. Another question from our newsletter subscribers. We will also share a link where you can subscribe for the newsletter. There you get all the latest news, and you get some exclusive opportunities to see new products and ask questions and some exclusive content there. But
I'm always excited to see the new stuff. I'm always excited. when I
I
see the
will
new stuff.
show you something new quite soon, actually. That will be launching soon. So we're excited to show you in a bit.
Very exciting.
Yeah, but first we have a question about car training, and we actually have two different kinds of questions on
Okay.
this topic. The first one is, my puppy does not like to be in the car. How can I make him more comfortable?
Again, pretty big question. There could be lots of stuff going on. You know, one of the things I would tell you is anytime I have some of this with some of my international students or any place else, the first thing I'll ask them is send a video. You know, in our program, we encourage people to send videos so we can see exactly what's going on in the moment, because, you know, it's hard to say, you know, I want you to do this when I don't know exactly what sort of the dog is displaying. If the dog is worried, there's a couple of things that I would suggest. First things, look at how the dog is in the car. Are they just on the seat? Dogs with that, you know, uneven surface, it can make them a little bit unstable, and that can add a little bit to their worry. So I encourage you to crate your dogs. You know, I don't know. Do you guys have crate laws over there for dogs, like in cars? Are they supposed to be crated?
Yeah, they're supposed to be, or they can be on a car harness, or they can be great. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to be secured in some manner. Good.
Yeah.
Canada is behind. We do not have that legislation. It blows my mind that we do not have this. And literally, I'll be driving down the highway and there'll be some lady with her little Cocker Spaniel on her lap and like while she's driving it. It's crazy. Anyway, so yeah, harnesses can really help in crashes. There's some great crash test harnesses out there. I much prefer crates. Excuse me. Because I tend to find it gives a little bit better footing for the dogs, and I can also secure it a little bit better. So I would look at that. I would look at where the dog is in the car. Now it's also not possible for everybody to put a big giant crate in their car. Couple little tricks you can do. So if your dog's in the back seat, get a piece of wood and put some carpet on it and put it on the back seat. But you know, in the footwell, where it would fall down, get an exercise ball, put it in there and inflate it just enough to take up the space. Okay. And that can help make a really stable surface for, you know, if you don't have like an SUV or something where there's a lot of room in the back. But, you know, changing that and making it a grippy surface that they can feel a little more stable on can be really, really good. You know, again, there are lots of reconditioning things that you can do. Some dogs get nervous getting in the car, like they don't want to get in the car. So, you know, one of the things that I do is I always sort of show dogs that there's a way out. So sometimes I had an Irish Wolfhound that didn't like getting in the car, and he was very big. So I would open both doors of a van and I would teach him to jump up and jump through. So he learned that he could get out. It wasn't sort of jumping into a big dark thing. I spent a lot of time teaching him to eat his meals in the van. You know, I mean, again, I just changed the entire association with it without going anywhere. And then we started with little drives, like up and down the street and back, and then out, and then we have a play, and then everything. So, you know, integrated into little bits, but I tend to look at how they are in the crate first and foremost. Some dogs, I will tell you, you know, like some people get car sick. Some dogs just don't feel good with the motion. And, you know, it may be that you maybe not take the dog on some things, which is unfortunate, but, you know, you kind of have to look at the risk versus reward in this situation. If the dog's feeling terrible, then they're not really having the best time. So look at that. But try some of those tips. I would look at sort of securing the dog a little bit more.
Yeah. And then we also have a dog that's a bit the opposite. Or my previous dog got overly excited when getting in the car because he knew something fun was going to happen. How to prevent this for my puppy?
Yeah, so I always look for things that, you know, what's the cause of it? What's the root cause and what can I change? So if going to the car meant we were going to the park to have the run to chase the ball, like our, you know, our herding dogs, as soon as you get, you know, whatever thing out, they're like, oh, the agility toy's out. I know we're going to work, right? Yeah. So I would change that association in that I might just pop them in the car and pop them out. Okay. So I would change that part. If the dog gets a little high, I would not go to the thing. So one of the things that I see with stuff is dogs learn patterns because we do patterns. We are predictable. We do the same thing all the time. We don't even realize it. And the dogs know all these physical cues. So one of my students has a what is it? It's a Weimaraner or something. Anyway, they walked to the park every day and played fetch. But the moment they round the corner near the park, the dog pulled like a freight train. Like it was out of its mind. It was jumping, it was biting, it was doing all this stuff because the rehearsal is I get to go and I get to reward. And again, that barking and that excitement in the car is generally associated with the reward. So my personal thing, what we did with this dog was like, okay, well, we're not going to go there anymore. First of all, we're not going to make that happen. Now, you can't not go in the car. You need to go in the car, but maybe you go around the block and back to your house. Okay. Not as very exciting a place. That would be one thing I would do. So I might change those routes. The other thing I would do is, personally, if it were my dog, I would work on a lot of settle and focus in a crate. Okay. And I would have somebody else drive, if I can crate my dog in the car, and have the dog lie down, and I would simply praise and reward the dog for being calm. So again, I changed the reward structure. If we let it continue to happen and they continue to rehearse it, it's going to keep happening. Because they're letting out that energy, they're getting stimulated. So, while you're driving, you can't do much about it. So you need to look at training some stuff at other times. So have somebody else drive for a little bit if you can, and you work through it. Again, if your dog knows how to settle, then if they're not settled, I can give them a little, hey, knock that off, and I can help them settle. But I always want to focus on what I want to do, what I want them to do instead.
Really good. We got some good tips, and now we're getting close to an hour, so I think we should wrap up quite soon. But
see, I could do this. This is the hard part, see, because I could do this all day. I mean, I do this all
day.
It's super fun. And I will tell you too, like in our program, this is what we do. We have a weekly Zoom call where everybody comes on and we answer questions and we go deep dives into topics. And this is all our puppy training stuff. It's not just watch a video and do it. There's lots of engagement with all of us and our team, and it's really fun because we're all very passionate about it. We love training puppies. We love people help. We love to help people train their puppies.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you want to train with Steve, then we have a coupon code in the comments that you can use, and we will also soon draw a winner of a Ramble harness and a tumble collar. But
that's
first,
exciting.
I was thinking to show you a new product that's
I want to see it.
Launching very soon, because it's summertime now. Of course, we don't want to think about rain and autumn and cold.
Is it hot there? Is it hot there right now?
How warm it is?
Yeah.
Now I guess it's like 12 degrees.
Okay.
In summer.
Okay.
It's been raining a bit today, so we have been testing these prototypes.
I love it.
This is a new rain jacket that will be launching quite soon. I don't know how well you can see.
Yeah.
We're very excited to launch it. You will find more information. We will share a link in the comment where you can find more information about this one. We call it the Fjord raincoat. So that will be exciting to.
I love it. Well, I love the update on this coat. This coat's so nice. I love the updates, the new buckles, all the stuff. It's great.
Yeah. So that's exciting. I think we're that's about it.
Have we got everything there?
I think we got everything.
Okay.
And of course, maybe we can do this again sometime soon. If you have any wishes about topics we should cover, guests you want us to have, or anything, you can just put it in the comments, and we will try to make it happen.
Yeah, thanks so much for letting me join you today. It's always great to. I mean, I know we've done this in podcasts before, but it's nice to actually look at you and talk to you and have a conversation.
It's so nice here on camera. And if you want to listen to the episode with Steve or any other episodes or read articles about different topics, then you can go to nonstopdogwear.com and click the magazine section. There you will find a lot of content. And now my colleague come with the winner, and the winner is Julia W.
Awesome.
So Julia, if you can just send us a message with your contact information, then we will send you a Ramble harness and a tumble collar.
So cool. That's just awesome, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like that?
Yeah, that's a win-win situation. Okay, thank you so much, Steve.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. This is Jet. She's my oldest. She's gonna be 9 this year. I can't believe this. I can't believe she's gonna be 9. So,
yeah, she was a good guest.
And I can't believe it's been 2 years since she's been the European Open, because of course it hasn't happened.
Do you think she will go next year?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not. She's at that age where she's earned the right to just be a dog. She teaches class with me every day. But she's very small, and to jump 24 inches is a lot for her. And I would prefer her to be a happy dog who plays agility around here instead of having to jump with the large dog. So
Yeah, that's
my male, he's a large dog. So
maybe it's time for a new puppy soon.
well, that's it. That's what my male's for, because he's just 2, so we're just sort of getting towards that kind of thing. So, but yes, it will be puppy time soon. It always is.
We're excited. Okay, bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.